Nvidia's AI plan and Nemoclaw will shock you. So Jensen Huang is about to walk on to a stage tomorrow and change the game again. Not just a little bit, not incrementally. I mean, the kind of shift where you look back in 2 years and say, that was the moment everything changed. Tomorrow is March 16th. GTC kicks off in San Jose, California. And if you do not know what GTC is, here's a short version. It's the biggest AI conference on the planet. 30,000 people flying in from over 190 different countries. The event is spread across 10 venues in downtown San Jose. And Jensen Huang, the CEO of what is now one of the most valuable companies in the world that's ever existed on earth, is going to stand on stage and tell the world what comes next. Nvidia's market cap right now $4.6 trillion. To put that in perspective, that's bigger than the entire GDP of Germany. That is more valuable than Apple was at its peak, and almost all of it has been built on the back of AI, on the chips that power every major AI model you've ever used, on the systems that run ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and every other AI tool you've ever typed into. But here's what most people watching this don't understand. Nvidia is not just a chip company anymore. Tomorrow, they're going to prove that in a way nobody saw coming. So, if you're not familiar with this already, let me break down everything that's expected to drop at GTC 2026 and why every single one of these announcements matters to you personally. Not just engineers, not just to big corporations, to you, to your job, to your business, to your income, to the way work gets done for every person on earth. Let's start with the thing that everyone is talking about, Nemoclaw. If you watched my last video about Openclaw and Nemotron Super, you already know the setup. Openclaw is a free open source AI agent that took off faster than anything in the history of software. Jensen Huang called it probably the most important software release ever. It spreads to over 250,000 stars on GitHub in record time. And people are literally lining up outside tech buildings in Shenzhen in China just to get help installing it on their laptops. Mac Minis were selling out in multiple US cities because people were buying dedicated machines just to run 24/7 hours a day with Openclaw. But Openclaw had a problem, a serious one. Openclaw was built for individuals, regular people who want a personal AI assistant running on their own laptop. But what about a hospital? What about a bank with 10,000 employees? What about a defense contractor or a Fortune 500 company with serious legal and security requirements? You can't just hand one of these organizations an open source project and say, good luck. And that's exactly where NVIDIA steps in tomorrow. On the software side, NVIDIA is expected to debut its own platform for AI agents called Nemoclaw. The service would allow companies to deploy agents across their systems. Think of it like this: Openclaw is a bicycle. It's free, it's fast, it's getting you where you need to go, and pretty much anyone can ride it. Nemoclaw is an armored vehicle built for serious work, built for organizations that can't afford a security breach, and built for companies that run the world. Nemoclaw would give businesses a structured way to build AI agents, software that can carry out multi-step tasks autonomously, and will position NVIDIA to mirror similar offerings from companies like OpenAI. Let me tell you why that last part is massive. OpenAI is the most famous AI company on the planet. They own the most widely used AI tools, and NVIDIA is saying tomorrow we're going to compete with them in the software layer too. Not just chips, software, agents, the thing that actually touches your day-to-day work. Now, here's something that almost nobody is talking about, and it's one of the coolest things happening at GTC tomorrow. The conference itself, attendees will actually be able to build their own assistant, customizing its personality and capabilities before deploying it on NVIDIA hardware. They're calling it Builderclaw, basically. You walk up, you configure your own personal AI agent, you give it a personality, you give it capabilities, and you walk out with something that's yours running on NVIDIA's chips. Think about what that means as a signal. NVIDIA is not just announcing a product, they are letting 30,000 of the smartest developers and business leaders in the world get their hands on it in real time. That's a masterclass in product launches. You don't just tell people about the thing, you put the thing in their hands and let them feel it. Think about what that means as a signal. NVIDIA is just not just announcing a product, they are letting 30,000 of the smartest developers and business leaders in the world get their hands on it in real time. This is a masterclass in product launches. You don't just tell people about that thing, you put it in their hands and let them feel it. And for the people watching from home, this is the moment you need to pay attention because what gets built at GTC this week is going to be available to businesses everywhere in the coming months. The stuff that 30,000 people test drive tomorrow becomes the stuff that your employer starts using by the end of this year. Now, let me talk about the hardware side because this is where it gets genuinely mind bending. The centerpiece of GTC 2026 is the anticipated formal launch of the Vera Rubin platform, the successor to the highly successful Blackwell architecture. Blackwell redefined data center efficiency in 2024 and 2025. Rubin is expected to be a generational leap. Let me translate that into plain English. Every time you use an AI tool, every time you ask ChatGPT a question, every time you use an AI image generator, every time you use an AI coding assistant, there is a chip somewhere in a data center actually doing the actual work. For the last year and a half, that chip has mostly been something called Blackwell. Blackwell was already incredible. It was a massive leap forward from the generation before it. Vera Rubin is what comes after Blackwell. The Rubin platform harnesses extreme code design across hardware and software to deliver up to a 10x reduction in inference token cost and 4x reduction in the number of GPUs needed to train certain AI models compared with the previous Blackwell platform. 10 times cheaper. Let that sink in. The cost of running AI is going to drop by 10 times compared to the current standard. That's not a small improvement. That's a not a like 10% discount. That is the difference between something being a luxury and something being everywhere. Right now, the main reason companies don't deploy AI agents at massive scale is cost. Running a persistent AI agent that works 24 hours a day, making decisions, managing tasks, connecting into systems is very expensive. Very expensive. Jensen Huang himself said that an agentic task uses roughly 1,000 times more computing than a simple chat conversation. And a persistent agent running all day uses roughly 1 million times more computing than a simple query. 1 million times more. Pretty insane. And that's why this cost matters so much. Because if you make it 10 times cheaper, suddenly the maths changes for every company and almost every single person on the planet. And that's why the cost matters so much, right? Because if you make it 10 times cheaper, suddenly the math changes for every company, and things that were too expensive to automate become affordable. Agents that companies could only dream about become practical. And all of the demand flows right back to NVIDIA's chips. The Vera Rubin superchip combines an ARM based Vera CPU and a Rubin's GPU. It's expected to be available in the second half of 2026. Among the first cloud providers to deploy Vera Rubin based systems will be AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, Oracle, as well as cloud partners like CoreWeave, Lambda, Nebius, and Nscale. So when Vera Rubin ships later this year, it's not going to be some niche corner of the market. It's going to be directly into the biggest cloud platforms on earth. Every time you use AI through Amazon, Google, Microsoft, you're going to be running on Vera Rubin. That's the scale we're talking about. But here's where the story gets even more interesting because Vera Rubin is not even the biggest announcement expected tomorrow. Jensen Huang has also teased new chips the world has never seen before. On his earnings call a few weeks ago, he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, I have some great ideas I want to share with you at GTC, which is Jensen speak for brace yourselves. Throughout the week, Nvidia plans to share at least some of its vision for incorporating Grok's chip technology into its already dominant computing ecosystem. Now, let me explain why the Grok story is a big deal. Grok, spelled GROQ, is a chip company that built something called an LPU, language processing unit, not a GPU, not a CPU, a chip designed from the ground up specifically for one job, running AI models fast, really fast. We're talking hundreds or even thousands of tokens per second. When you use an AI tool and the text just streams out instantly with no lag, that's the kind of speed Grok chips were built for. Nvidia reportedly paid $20 billion last year to license Grok's technology. Jonathan Ross, Grok's founder, and Sunny Madra, Grok's president, both agreed to join Nvidia to help advance and scale the licensed tech. $20 billion for a license, not even a full acquisition. That tells you exactly how much Nvidia values what Grok built. And tomorrow at GTC, we are expected to see how Nvidia plans to combine its own GPU dominance with Grok's inference speed into a single unified system. Think about what that looks like. Right now, training an AI model and running an AI model are two different things that require different hardware setups. Training is about brute force computing power over long periods of time. Running or inferring is about speed and efficiency in real time. NVIDIA already dominates training. Grok dominated real time inference. If NVIDIA combines them, they own both ends of the equation. By combining its GPU ecosystem with Grok's data flow architecture, NVIDIA could significantly improve both token generation speeds and cost efficiency, making AI inference faster and cheaper. Faster and cheaper. Those are the two things that unlock mass adoption of anything. Every time something becomes faster and cheaper, it goes from being something only big companies can afford to something everyone uses. This is what happened with smartphones, it's what happened with streaming, and it's what's about to happen with AI agents. Now, let me talk about the roadmap because NVIDIA is not just announcing what's available now, they are laying out where this goes over the next several years. Jensen is expected to provide additional details related to Vera Rubin and Variant Ultra, slated for the second half of 2027. He could also offer more information about NVIDIA's future Feynman GPU, scheduled for 2028. Feynman, named after the physicist Richard Feynman. And this one is the one that's researchers genuinely excited. Feynman is the next generation silicon designed specifically to handle the reasoning and long-term memory requirements of AI agents, not general AI workloads, specifically for agents, specifically the kind of persistent multi-step memory intensive work that AI agents do when they're running all day managing real tasks. This is NVIDIA quietly but clearly saying, we know the future is agents. We're building chips specifically for the future. We are not waiting to see how it plays out. We are designing the hardware that makes it possible. Rumors also persist that Huang will provide a preview of the Feynman architecture, which is slated to be the first chip produced using Taiwan Semiconductor's advanced 1.6 nm process node. 1.6 nanometers. To give you a frame of reference, a human hair is about 80,000 nanometers wide. We are putting computing power onto chips at a scale that is almost impossible to comprehend. And at that scale, the performance improvements are enormous. More transistors, more speed, less power, less cost. NVIDIA is not one chip cycle ahead of competition. There are multiple chip cycles ahead, and the gap is growing, not closing. Now, let me step back and talk about the bigger picture here, because I think most people watching this do not still fully understand what NVIDIA is building. It's easy to look at this and think, they're a chip company that makes really good chips for AI. And that's true, but massively undersells what's actually happening. Jensen Huang described what NVIDIA is doing in a way that I think sums it up perfectly. He said AI is no longer a single breakthrough or application. It's essential infrastructure. Every company will use it, every nation will build it. Essential infrastructure. It's like electricity or roads or the internet. Think about the company that provides electricity to an entire country. Every house, every business, every hospital, every school runs on what they provide. You can't opt out. You can't build an alternative from scratch. You just buy the power and plug in. And that's the position NVIDIA is building toward with AI. They want to be the power grid, the thing that everything runs on. And tomorrow at GTC, they're going to show us the next set of upgrades to that power grid. GTC will showcase every layer of AI spanning energy, chips, infrastructure, models, and applications. Through keynotes, sessions, and demos, attendees will see how each layer has its own ecosystem of partners, technologies, and skilled jobs, and how the coordination of these layers is driving one of the largest infrastructure expansions in history. One of the largest infrastructure expansions in history. Those are NVIDIA's own words, not a blogger's take, not an analyst's opinion. The company itself describing what is happening right now in those terms. And here's the investment side of this that should make every person's jaw drop. In early 2026, Amazon shocked the market by announcing a planned $200 billion in capital expenditures for the year, followed closely by Alphabet and Microsoft, who guided for $180 billion and $155 billion, respectively. $200 billion from Amazon alone in 1 year spent on AI infrastructure. That is more than most countries' entire defense budgets. That is Amazon essentially saying, we believe AI is the most important thing happening on Earth right now, and we're betting hundreds of billions of dollars on it. And where does the money go? A massive chunk of it goes to NVIDIA chips because there's no other option at this scale. AMD is trying, Intel is trying, custom chips from Google and Amazon exist. But when you need to move this fast and deploy this much AI this quickly, you use NVIDIA every single time. Nvidia has actually invested in dozens of AI companies since last year, and it's deployed billions of dollars across its ecosystem. This week, in advance of GTC, the company announced it invested $2 billion in AI cloud firm Nebius, and it's also backing former OpenAI CTO Myra Murati's new startup, Thinking Machines, with over 1 gigawatt in Nvidia chips. Mira Murati, she was the CTO of OpenAI, one of the people closest to the technology that built ChatGPT. She left, started her own company, and Nvidia immediately backed her with more than 1 gigawatt of computing power. That's not a small bet. That is Nvidia saying, we believe in you and we want your company running on our infrastructure. This is the strategy. Invest in the companies building on top of you. Make sure the best AI builders in the world are using your chips. And then when those companies become enormous, your chips are baked into everything they build. It's brilliant and it's working. Now, let me bring this back down to earth because I can feel some of you thinking, okay, this is all fascinating, but what does it mean for me? I'm not a chip designer. I don't run a data center. I just have a job and I'm trying to figure out how AI affects my life. Let me answer that directly. Every single announcement at GTC tomorrow makes AI agents more capable, more affordable, and easier to deploy. Nemoclaw means companies can now run AI agents safely across their entire organization. Vera Rubin means the cost of running those agents drops dramatically. The Grok inference chip means those agents respond faster. The Feynman preview means even bigger capabilities are coming in 2028. Now, string those together, cheaper agents, safer agents, faster agents, more capable agents running across every major company on earth. Do you send emails at work? Well, AI agents are going to build that. Do you schedule meetings? They'll build that too. Do you write reports? AI agents are already beginning to build and draft those. Do you answer customer service questions? Do you do research or organize files? Well, every single one of those tasks is in the crosshairs of what gets built on top of the chips Jensen Huang is announcing tomorrow. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because the people who understand what's coming and start learning how to work with these tools instead of against them are going to have a massive advantage. And not just today, but for years to come. Let me talk for a minute about what this means for smaller businesses and regular people, not just the giants. Nvidia is reportedly investing up to $26 billion in open source models. Open source means free, means anyone can use it. It means like a small business owner in Bangkok or a freelancer in London or a solar founder in Texas can access the same underlying AI technology that Amazon and Microsoft are using. That has never happened before in the history of technology. Usually, the big companies get the expensive, powerful tools, and everyone gets a watered down version. AI is flipping that. The open source models that NVIDIA is backing are genuinely world class and they're free to download and run. The gap between what a 10-person company can do with AI and what a 10,000-person company can do is smaller than at any point in history. And after tomorrow's announcements, that gap gets even smaller. Now, I want to talk about the conference sessions themselves because this is not just a keynote. GTC spans topics from physical AI and AI factories to agentic AI and inference. More than 700 sessions provide all the details. This year's GTC spans topics from physical AI and AI factories to agentic AI and inference. Several hundred sessions. That is a week's worth of deep dives into every corner of AI, robotics, healthcare, autonomous vehicles, climate science. And at the center of all of it, the thread connecting everything is agents. On Wednesday, March the 18th, Huang will moderate a panel on open models with Harrison Chase, co-founder and CEO of LangChain, and leaders from A16Z, A12, Cursor, and Thinking Machines Lab. The conversation will be about where open models stand across frontier closed ones and what it means for everyone building on top of them. This panel matters. The big question in AI right now is whether open source models can compete with the closed models and the proprietary ones that come from companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. Because if open models get good enough, then no single company controls the best AI. Anyone can build on top of it, anyone can customize, anyone can run on their own hardware without paying per query fees to a big company forever. NVIDIA's interest is obviously in open models because open models need to run on hardware and NVIDIA sells a hardware. But there's a broader point here too. Open models mean more competition. More competition means faster improvement, and faster improvement means better tools for everyone. The panel Jensen is moderating includes the CEO of Cursor, which is one of the most exciting companies in AI right now. Cursor built an AI coding tool so good that it now generates over $300 million a year in revenue with only 20 people. 20 people with $300 million in revenue. That's what AI first companies look like. It's not a distant prediction, it's happening right now. Myra Murati's Thinking Machines Lab is going to be represented there too. This is a woman who helped build ChatGPT, and Nvidia just partnered with a company in a huge way. Nvidia and Thinking Machines Labs announced a multi-year strategic partnership to deploy at least 1 gigawatt of next-generation NVIDIA Vera Rubin systems to support Thinking Machines frontier model training. 1 gigawatt to train frontier AI models, that's an insane amount of computing power dedicated to one company's AI research, and it signals where the frontier of AI capability is heading. Now, before I get to what you should actually do with all this, I want to touch on the robotics side because it's going to be a big part of GTC this week and it connects directly to the AI agent story. Expect Nvidia to showcase new developments around its Isaac robotics platform and Groot robotic models, which are designed to power humanoid robots and industrial automation systems. Nvidia's Omniverse simulation platform will likely play a major role too. The technology basically allows developers to build digital twins of real world environments where robots can train and simulate tasks before being deployed in the real world. Digital twins, let me explain what that means. So, a digital twin is an exact virtual copy of a real physical space. It could be a factory floor, a warehouse, a hospital, a city. You build the virtual copy, you train your robots and your AI agents inside the simulation, and then you deploy them in the real world. The benefit is that AI can fail 1,000 times in the simulation, learn from every failure, and then show up to the real world basically already trained. And this is how you get robots that actually work in a messy real world environment, not robots that only function in perfect lab conditions. Real world robots can handle surprises and adapt on the fly. And here's the connection to agents that matters. The same technology that teaches a robot to navigate a factory floor also teaches an AI agent to navigate a complex software environment. The principles are the same: simulate, fail, learn, improve, deploy. NVIDIA is building these simulation tools not just for physical robots, but for the AI agents of running software. Nemoclaw agents in simulated environments before they get handed the keys to your company's email system. This is where it goes. Now, let me talk about what this all means for the regular person who's sitting there watching this thinking, I still don't know where to start with any of this. Here's the honest truth: you don't need to understand chips to benefit from what's happening. You don't need to know what HBM4 memory is. You don't need to understand LPUs or inference training. What you need to understand is this: the tools built on top of all of this are about to get dramatically better, faster, and cheaper. And the people who learn how to use those tools right now, before the majority of people catch up, are going to have an advantage that compounds over time. I've been saying this for a long time. The AI learning curve is real, and the people who climbed it early are already miles ahead at this point. Not because they're smarter, but because they learned and started sooner. The gap I'm talking about is not theoretical. I see it every single day. I talk to people who set up AI agents in their business, and they're doing in 2 hours what used to take 2 days. They are producing content at a scale that they never could before. They're automating the boring, repetitive work and spending their time on the things that actually grow their business. And then I talk to people who still haven't started yet, who are waiting until they feel ready, who think they'll catch up later. And the honest thing I can tell you is that later gets harder every month, not easier. The gap between people who understand this stuff and people who don't is growing. Every new chip announcement, every new model release, every new agent framework that drops makes that gap wider. That's why I built the AI Profit Boardroom. It's a community where we cut through all the noise and focus on one thing: real AI automation that actually makes you money and saves you time. Not theory, not speculation, actual workflows, actual tools, actual results. People inside the boardroom are already building AI systems that run parts of their business whilst they sleep. They're automating customer research, content creation, research for reporting and scheduling, and 100 other things that used to eat up their entire week. If you want to stop watching from the sidelines and start actually building, the link's in the description and the comments, or you can go to the AIprofitboardroom.com and join us, especially right now, whilst most people are still trying to figure out what GTC even is or what it's about. You can be the person in your industry who already knows how to use these tools. So let me bring everything together. Here's what I expect to happen tomorrow and what to watch out for. Jensen Huang walks on stage at 11 a.m. Pacific time at the SAP Center in San Jose. It streams free on NVIDIA's website. There's no registration required. The keynote runs about 2 hours. Expect Nemoclaw to be officially announced, the enterprise AI agent platform, the thing that brings safe, secure AI agents to every major company on earth. This is huge for the agent ecosystem. Every company that was watching from the sidelines because Openclaw had security issues now has a path forward with NVIDIA's backing. expect Vera Rubin details, the new chip architecture that cuts AI costs by up to 10x. AWS, Google, Microsoft, and Oracle already lining up to deploy it in the second half of this year, and every AI tool will eventually run on these chips. Expect the Grok inference announcements, the combination of NVIDIA's training dominance and Grok's inference speed in a single product. This is what makes AI agents faster and cheaper to run in real time. And expect Feynman to get teased. The 2028 chip designed specifically for the agent era, built from the ground up for the kind of AI that runs all day, maintains memory, and takes complex multi-step actions. Expect robotics. Isaac, Groot, Omniverse, digital twins. The physical AI story is going to be a major part of tomorrow's keynote. And expect the Open Models panel on Wednesday with Myra Morati, the Cursor CEO, people from A16Z and Sequoia, discussing where OpenAI stands relative to closed AI. This conversation shapes the next 2 years of AI development. Here's the bigger picture I want you to leave with. What Nvidia is doing right now is one of the most ambitious things any company has ever attempted in the history of business. And they're not just building better chips, they're building the entire stack: the chips, the models, the agent platforms, the simulation environments, the networking, the data center and architecture, and every layer from raw silicon to the AI agent that answers your emails in the morning. From energy and chips to infrastructure, models and applications, every layer of the stack is advancing at once, every layer at once. That's not something you can catch up to quickly. When one company controls that much of the infrastructure and they're advancing every part of it simultaneously, the lead they have compounds with every single chip generation. And here's the thing that connects back to you sitting here watching this: all of that infrastructure, all of those chips, all of that computing power, it exists for one reason. It exists to run AI models, and those models exist to do work, real work. The work that right now gets done by people just like you. That's not a threat, it's a fact. And the question is not whether it's going to happen, it's already happening. The question is whether you're going to be the one of those people who figures out how to use these tools to become 10 times more productive and valuable, or one of the people who gets blindsided by them. I know which side I want you to be on. And based on the fact that you're here watching this, I think you know which side you want to be on too. So here's what I want you to do. Tomorrow, if you can, watch Jensen Huang's keynote. It streams free, starts at 11 a.m. Pacific. Watch it the same way you would watch a keynote from a company that just changed the rules of the game, because that's exactly what this is. Pay attention specifically to Nemoclaw. Watch how Jensen explains the agent vision. Watch the Builder Claw demonstrations and understand what those 30,000 developers are building tomorrow in San Jose will probably be landed in your industry within months. If you're a developer, look at the Vera Rubin specs and start thinking about what you can build when AI costs 10 times less to run. If you run a business, start making a list right now of every repetitive task your team does every week: email, data entry, scheduling, reporting, research, customer routing. Every item on that list is a candidate for an AI agent on this platform that Jensen is announcing tomorrow. And if you're in a corporate job, start paying attention to which companies in your industry are moving on AI and which ones are not. Because the ones that move first are going to have a structural advantage that gets harder to close every quarter. And if you want to learn exactly how to build these systems, how to set up AI agents that actually work in the real world, how to automate the parts of your business, of your job that are eating up your time every day, come join us in the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description, or go to the AIprofitboardroom.com. This is where people go from watching the news to actually using AI to build better businesses and better careers. Come join us. One last thing, there's a pre-show happening tomorrow before Jensen even takes the stage. The pre-game show features notable speakers, including Perplexity CEO Aravind Srinivasan, Langchain CEO Harrison Chase, Skilled AI CEO Deepak Patak, Open Evidence CEO Daniel Nadler, and Mistral AI CEO Arthur Mensch. The CEOs of some of the most important AI companies in the world are going to be warming up the room before Jensen even walks out. That pre-show starts at 8 a.m. Pacific. If you can catch any of it, it's definitely worth catching. Tomorrow is not just a product announcement. Tomorrow is the beginning of what Nvidia is calling the agentic AI era. The shift from AI that answers questions to AI that does work. The shift from chat to action, from asking to building, from assistant to agent. The infrastructure for that era is being formally launched tomorrow on stage in San Jose. The only question left is whether you're going to understand what's happening whilst it's happening, or try to piece it together after the fact. I will see you on the other side of tomorrow's keynote, because we're going to cover everything that drops, break it all down in plain English, and tell you exactly what it means for your business and your life. That's what this channel is for. That's why we do this every single day. See you tomorrow. China's new Duclaw AI destroys Openclaw. So China just solved the biggest problem with Openclaw. Not a security patch, not a new model. The biggest problem, the one thing stopping a billion people from using it. Setup. Baidu just launched a product called Duclaw. It's a zero deployment service. You don't install anything, you don't touch your terminal, you don't configure anything. You just pay $2.50 and your AI agent is live and working. 250 a month. That is less than a bottle of water at the airport for a fully managed AI agent that runs your inbox, books your travel, manages your calendar, and handles tasks whilst you sleep. That's Duclaw. I want you to remember that name because I think it's one of the most important product launches in AI this year, not because of the technology inside it, but because of what it represents. Duclaw is the moment AI agents stopped being a technical project and became a consumer product. Now, let me show you why this matters so much. Openclaw grew by 925% from February to March. The second highest growing AI product in the same period grew by 390%. The third grew by 72%. 925% month over month. Nothing else in AI is that close. And yet, for most of that growth, the tool was still too hard for regular people to use. You needed to type commands into a black terminal window. You needed to navigate developer platforms. You needed to configure models and set permissions and troubleshoot errors. Most people looked at that and walked away from Openclaw for that reason. Duclaw is Baidu's answer to that problem, and it's a very good answer. Duclaw includes built-in access to Baidu Search, Baidu Bag, Baidu Scholar. It supports model switching across DeepSeek, Kimi, GLM5, and Minimax, and the service is fully managed on Baidu's cloud infrastructure. Think about what that actually means. When you open Duclaw, your AI agent already knows how to search a web, already knows how to look things up. It can switch between different AI brains depending on what tasks you need done. And you didn't set any of that up. It was already there when you logged in for $2.50 a month. And that's not a small thing. That's the iPhone moment for AI agents, the point where the complexity disappears behind a product that just works. And the company doing this has 700 million monthly active users on their main app. 700 million people just got handed a door directly into the agentic AI world. Not an invitation, a door already open, already cheap, and already set up for them. Now, to understand why Duclaw landed so hard, you need to understand what's happening in China before it launched. Over the past month, major Chinese cloud providers launched their own versions of Openclaw. Local governments dangled grants to startups building Openclaw apps, and a cottage industry sprung up helping users install the open source framework. China's users are now calling it raising a lobster, a phrase that refers to Openclaw's red lobster logo. Raising a lobster. That's a phrase, and it's not a niche joke across tech workers. It's on merchandise. It's a vocabulary of retirees and students and finance managers who have never written a line of code. Of the more than 142,000 publicly visible AI agents on Openclaw track globally, nearly half originated from China. Nearly half of all visible Openclaw agents in the world are running in China right now. The tool was built by an Austrian developer, went viral in Silicon Valley first, and China is running away with it. Openclaw has amassed over 250,000 GitHub stars in just a few months, making it the most starred project on the entire platform. Chinese media frame this as surpassing Linus's all-star time count, a milestone that took Linux over 30 years to reach. 30 years. Linux took 30 years to get there. Openclaw did it in a few months. That's not a trend line. That is a detonation. But here's the thing, with all of that energy, of all that demand, with all the people who wanted in, most of them still couldn't understand or get it because the setup was too hard. The gap between wanting Openclaw and actually using Openclaw was a technical skills gap that most people couldn't cross on their own. And that gap created a whole new economy. On the morning of March the 6th, Tencent's cloud engineers set up free installation booths outside their Shenzhen headquarters. Students stood alongside retired engineers. Someone had flown in from Hangzhou the night before. Meanwhile, across the city, sellers on Taobao were charging up to 500 yuan per remote install, with the busiest stores logging over 1,000 orders. A retired engineer and a 9-year-old kid standing in the same line to get an AI agent installed on their laptop. Someone flying in from just another city to get access. 1,000 orders on a second-hand marketplace just for someone to help you install free software. A software engineer named Feng posted an ad that read, "No need to know coding or complex terms. Fully remote, anyone can quickly own an AI assistant, available within 30 minutes." And that ad worked because the need was enormous and the solution was scarce. Feng was making real money charging people to install a free tool. This is what a setup barrier looks like when it meets mass demand. Duclaw just made Feng's business obsolete. That's the significance of what Baidu did. They did not just make Openclaw cheaper, they destroyed the reason a whole cottage industry existed. When you can get a fully managed Openclaw setup for $250 a month from one of the biggest tech companies in the world, you don't need to pay a stranger $72 to install on your laptop. The barrier is gone, the friction is gone, and the reason most people are not using it is gone. And Duclaw is not alone. 2 days after Baidu launched it, Alibaba fired back. Alibaba launched JVS Claw, a dedicated mobile app for iOS and Android. No coding knowledge required. Install and deploy Openclaw in minutes, free for the first 14 days. And now it's on your phone. The thing that is already in your pocket, the thing that your grandmother uses to video call you, AI agents are on that device now, ready to go. Tencent launched WorkBuddy, an AI agent for workplace tasks, fully compatible with OpenClaw. ByteDance rolled out ArtClaw, a version that runs directly in a web browser with no local setup at all. Minimax, ZAI, and SenseTime all launched their own integrated products within days, and every major Chinese tech company is now in this race. And every product they launched is solving the same problem that Duclaw solved first. Remove the setup, remove the friction, make it so simple that anyone can have an AI agent by lunchtime. Duclaw set the template, and everyone else is now following it. JD.com launched a page where users can pay $58 to get remote help from Lenovo's IT team to deploy OpenClaw. Meituan announced a similar partnership. Even the food delivery and e-commerce giants got in as well. They looked at what Duclaw is doing and said, we can sell that too. Set up as a service, onboarding as a product. That's how far Duclaw's core insight traveled in just days. The insight that the real product is not the AI, the real product is getting people into the AI. Now, let me tell you what Duclaw and this whole wave did to the stock market. Minimax has seen its shares rise 640% since listing just 2 months ago. It's now worth about 49 billion US dollars, surpassing Baidu in market value, despite Baidu generating $18.5 billion in revenue in 2025 compared to Minimax's 79 million. The market is not buying the current numbers, it's buying the trajectory. It's saying if Duclaw and products like it make AI agents mainstream at scale, the companies at the center of that ecosystem are going to be enormous. Minimax powers one of the models inside Duclaw. That connection alone helped turn a $79 million revenue company into a $49 billion market cap story. Tencent shares rose 70.3% in a single day after launching WorkBuddy. That was Tencent's best single day in over a year. And one product announcement built on the same model Duclaw pioneered. One day, billions added to Tencent's market value. The market is pricing in the Duclaw effect across every company that's moving in the same direction. Now, let me talk about the human side of this, because behind all the stock numbers and the product launches, there are real people feeling real pressure. A product manager named Cindy Wang works at Openclaw's one of China's largest finance groups. Before Lunar New Year, her company had just adopted Openclaw, and managers were demanding employees prove competitively that they could use it. She said, since Openclaw came along, things have gotten insanely competitive. We are practically being crushed by the grind. Managers warned staff they would be immediately replaced if they didn't use AI. That's not a headline. That is a real person under real pressure. And the thing is, before Duclaw, you could at least argue that the tool was too complicated for most people to use. You could say, I want to learn this, but the setup is too hard. Duclaw just removed that excuse. $250 a month. No setup, no technical knowledge. If you're not using an AI agent now, it's not because it's too hard, it's because you haven't started yet. That's a very different situation. And companies are starting to notice. This is where I want to be real with you for a second, because the gap between the people using these tools and the people watching these stories is getting wider every single week. Duclaw is significant not just because it's a good product, it's significant because it removed the last real excuse for not starting. Inside the AI Profit Boardroom, we talk about exactly this, not just the headlines, the actual tools, the actual workflows, how to use products like Duclaw to build systems that run whilst you sleep, how to take $2.50 a month and turn it into hours of reclaimed time and real competitive advantage. If you want to be in that room, the link is inside the comments description, or go to the AIprofitboardroom.com. Come and join us. Now, here's the wrinkle in the Duclaw story, because this is not a clean win. There's actually a darker thread running through all of this. The same week, Baidu launched Duclaw. The Chinese government told its biggest institutions not to touch Openclaw at all. Government agencies and state-owned enterprises, including the largest banks, received notices warning them against installing Openclaw software on office devices. Some employees were instructed to notify superiors if they'd already installed the apps and submit to security checks and possible removal. The ban was extended to personal phones using company networks and in some cases to the families of military personnel. So Duclaw makes Openclaw effortless for consumers on Tuesday, and the government bans it from banks and agencies on Wednesday. Same week, same tool, two completely opposite official responses happening simultaneously. That's not confusion. That's a government that understands both the opportunity and the danger at the same time. And the security concerns are legitimate. Duclaw's managed approach actually does address some of them. When Baidu hosts your OpenClaw instance on their infrastructure, you're not running a vulnerable local installation. You're not one of the 42,665 open instances that anyone could walk into without a password. Baidu is responsible for patching vulnerabilities and managing your security configuration. Security researchers found critical flaws in OpenClaw that allow full gateway compromise and authentication token theft. One vulnerability was rated 8.8 out of 10 on the cybersecurity severity scale. Over 800 confirmed malicious add-ons have been found inside OpenClaw's own plugin registry. Duclaw's cloud managed model means Baidu controls which plugins you can access and how your agent is configured. You trade some flexibility for a lot more safety. For most regular users, that's a very good trade. For government agencies handling sensitive national security data, a managed consumer product is still not going to cut it, hence the ban, hence the contradiction. Kendra Schaefer, a techno policy researcher at Trivium China, put it plainly. Chinese regulators typically respond with extraordinary speed to threats from emerging technologies, but the rate of adoption of OpenClaw and other agentic tools is still outpacing them, still outpacing the fastest regulators in the world. And Duclaw is a big reason why. Every time a new managed product drops the barrier further, millions more people come in faster than any regulatory framework can keep up with. Now, let me zoom out and connect all of this to a bigger picture. Duclaw is not just a product, it's a signal. It's Baidu saying the era of OpenClaw being only for technical people is over, it's done. We're building the infrastructure to make this work for everyone. And once Baidu said that, every other major company had to respond. JVS Claw from Alibaba, our Claw from ByteDance, WorkBuddy from Tencent. Each of these products exists because Duclaw forced a question. If Baidu can put OpenClaw in a 250 subscription, what's your excuse for not doing the same? That's how innovation waves work. One product makes something possible. Every competitor has to match it or fall behind. And the users win because the price drops and the ease increases every single time someone new enters the race. China-based usage of OpenClaw has already topped that of US, whilst driving demand for Chinese lower-cost AI models. And the country that invented this technology is being out-adopted by the country that moved faster to deploy it. And Duclaw is the central reason why. Not the only reason, but the product that showed what was possible. The 250 subscription that told 700 million people, you can have this now, right today, without any help. Chinese models consumed 61% of global AI processing tokens in late February, powered by OpenClaw demand. Kimi K2.5, one of the models inside Duclaw's model switching feature, and more in 20 days than Moonshot's entire 2025 revenue, the company behind Kimi Claw. And that last sentence is wild. One model in 20 days, more revenue than the entire previous year, because Duclaw and products like it are funneling millions of users through these models every single day. The infrastructure that Duclaw built is generating that kind of economic activity downstream. Now, let me bring this home because I want to make sure this lands in a way that's useful for you. The Duclaw story is a story about what happens when the last big barrier to a technology disappears. Setup was a barrier for OpenClaw, 250 a month, and a fully managed service just removed it. When barriers disappear, adoption goes vertical. We are watching that happen in real time in China, and it's coming to the rest of the world fast. If you're a business owner, Duclaw is the proof that AI agents are no longer a technical project. They're a consumer product. Your competitors can now have a fully functioning AI agent for the cost of a cheap coffee subscription. Ask yourself honestly, are they already using it and you're not? If you're a freelancer or creator, Duclaw and products like it just handed you the same productivity leverage that used to require a whole operations team. The question is whether you pick it up. If you're an employee, the Cindy Wang story is coming to your company too. The pressure to learn this stuff is not optional anymore. And the great news is that Duclaw just made the learning curve almost flat. 250 a month, no setup, no coding. The only thing standing between you and your first AI agent is the decision style. The window where learning this gives you a real edge is still open, but Duclaw is the product that started closing it. because every single day more people use it, more of the advantage gets distributed, and the gap between early movers and everyone else gets harder to close. Feng, the engineer who built a business charging people to install Openclaw, is now using his earnings to fund his own AI venture. His goal is to run a one-person company using only AI agents. He's given himself a year. One person, 1 year, AI agents doing the work of a team. That's a bet. And Duclaw is part of what makes that bet credible. Because when your AI agent runs on Baidu's infrastructure for 250 a month and comes preloaded with search, research, multimodal, switching, the one person company is not really a fantasy anymore. It's the business model. The lobster has arrived. Duclaw opened the door. And the question is whether you walk through it. I'll see you in the next one. If you haven't already, check out the AI Profit Boardroom, link in the comments description, or just go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. Microsoft Copilot Cowork, new autonomous AI agents. So Microsoft just announced a brand new partnership with Anthropic, the company behind Claude AI, and together they have built something called Copilot Cowork, and it's about to change the way hundreds of millions of people do their jobs inside Microsoft 365. That's the story today, and it's a big one. For years, the partnership between Microsoft and OpenAI seemed like an unbreakable alliance. With billions of dollars invested, Microsoft's AI strategy was essentially an OpenAI only story, but things can change quickly. And Microsoft has now partnered with Anthropic, Claude's parent company, to launch Copilot Cowork. Let that sink in for a second. Microsoft, the company that put $13 billion into OpenAI, just went to OpenAI's biggest rival and said, "We need what you've built." Why? Because what Anthropic built with Claude Cowork is something that Microsoft couldn't get from OpenAI. And Microsoft was watching their own stock fall off a cliff because of it. Microsoft shares have fallen more than 14% since Anthropic debuted its Claude Cowork product in mid January. At the heart of Microsoft's announcement is Copilot Cowork, a new feature built in close collaboration with Anthropic. 14%. That's billions of dollars of market value gone because investors looked at what Anthropic was doing with Claude Cowork and started asking a very serious question. If AI can now do the work that enterprise software can do before, project management, writing, data analysis, workflow automation, why do companies need to pay for all those expensive software subscriptions? Anthropic's initial Claude Cowork applications, released in the first 2 months of 2026, helped trigger a $285 billion sell-off in enterprise software stocks as investors reprice companies whose core functionality, project management, writing, data analysis, workflow automation, overlapped with what Anthropic's AI could do. $285 billion, not from one company, from the entire enterprise software sector in one wave of selling, because investors could suddenly see where this was heading. And Microsoft saw it too. So instead of fighting it, they partnered with Anthropic and brought the same technology into the Microsoft 365 ecosystem that already sits on the desktops of over 1 billion workers worldwide. That's a move, that's a play, and it's a smart one. So let's break down what Copilot Cowork is, why it matters, and what it means for anyone using Microsoft 365 for their job, which is, by the way, most of the working world. Copilot is built to help Copilot take action, right? So you've got Copilot Cowork, and you've got Copilot, and this basically turns it into an autonomous AI agent, not just a chat. You describe the outcome you want, and Cowork automatically grounds the work in your emails, meetings, messages, files, and data. When you hand off a task to Cowork, it turns your request into a plan. The plan continues in the background with clear checkpoints, so you can confirm progress, make changes, or pause execution at any time. Now, let me explain that in plain English. Old Copilot, you ask it something, it gives you an answer, you go off and do the thing. The new Copilot, Cowork, you tell it what you need to get done. It looks at your whole Microsoft 365 account, your emails, your calendar, your team chats, your Excel files, and your Word docs. It builds a plan. It starts executing that plan in the background. It checks in with you at key moments and it gets the work done. So you're not the one doing it anymore. The AI is doing it and you're supervising. That's a fundamentally different relationship between a human and a computer. It's not a smarter search engine, it's a digital coworker. Copilot Cowork can handle tasks such as resolving calendar conflicts, preparing meeting briefs, compiling research memos with citations from web and workplace sources, and building product launch plans with competitive analysis and pitch decks. Think about how much time those things take in a normal week. Calendar management alone, how many hours a week do people spend scheduling, rescheduling, figuring out what needs to be done in what meeting, declining things that are a waste of time, and blocking focus time? Cowork just does that. You tell it what you're trying to prioritize this week. It looks at your whole calendar, it proposes changes, you approve them, done. Meeting prep. So let's say you've got a big client meeting in 2 hours. Old way, you would scramble, you pull emails, you check notes, you try to remember what was discussed last time. You maybe open a few docs if you have time. The new way is that you tell Cowork to prepare for the meeting. It reads your email history of that client. It reads your team messages. It pulls the relevant files. It writes you a briefing document, and it's ready before you even think to ask. During a demonstration, an agent powered by Anthropic's reasoning analyzed a quarter's worth of meetings, cross-referenced them with email priorities, and declined unnecessary invites, all without human supervision. A quarter's worth of meetings. That's 3 months of calendar data. Analyzed, cross-referenced with email priorities, and acted on in the time it takes you to make a cup of coffee. Now, I want to give you the full picture here because there's something really interesting happening in this story that goes beyond just the product. Microsoft's decision to embrace Anthropic, whilst remaining OpenAI's largest investor, is a key move. The AI industry is currently fractured by growing feuds between startups and tensions with national security agencies. The Redmond giant is making sure its customers are locked into one vendor. So, Microsoft CEO for AI at Work, Jared Spataro, told Fortune, and I love this quote, every 60 days, there's a new king in the hill, right? Every 60 days, a new king of the hill. That's the most honest description of the AI industry right now that I've ever heard from a senior executive at one of the biggest companies in the world. They're not betting on one model. They are not betting on one company. They are building a platform that can run whatever the best model is whenever it changes. Microsoft 365 Copilot is model diverse by design. Rather than betting on a single model, they build a system that makes every model useful at work. Customers get the choice, performance, flexibility in an open, heterogeneous environment. And that's a massive strategic shift where Microsoft was 2 years ago, right? So they've really moved on. 2 years ago, it was all OpenAI all the time. Now they're running Claude from Anthropic, open source models from DeepSeek and Quen, and they just announced Fireworks AI integration for even more model options. They are essentially building the operating system for enterprise AI, not the AI itself, the layer that sits on top of all of the different AI models and makes them useful in the context of your actual work. And the numbers are showing it's working. Microsoft recently delivered its strongest quarter yet with Copilot, with paid seats growing more than 160% year over year and daily active usage up 10 times. The number of customers deploying Copilot at significant scale, more than 35 seats, tripled year over year, and 90% of the Fortune 500 now use Copilot. 160% seat growth, daily usage up 10 times, and 90% of the Fortune 500. That's not a product people are testing anymore. That's a product that is embedded into how the biggest companies in the world operate. And now Cowork is being layered on top of all of that. Now, let me talk about the pricing because this is where it really gets interesting for anyone making business decisions. Copilot Cowork requires a Microsoft 365 Copilot license at $30 per user per month on top of existing enterprise subscriptions. For organizations seeking a comprehensive package, Microsoft introduces Microsoft 365 E7, which is priced at $99 per user per month, and that's available from May the 1st. The E7 tier bundles Copilot, the Microsoft Entra Suite, and Agent 365. $30 per user per month for Cowork Access, or $99 per user per month for the full bundle, including security tools and Agent 365. Now, some of you are going to say that's expensive. And for a small business, yes, it can be. But here's the math I want you to think about. If Cowork saves one person on your team just 4 hours a week, which is extremely conservative based on everything we're seeing, that's roughly 16 hours a month. At even a modest salary, that's easily worth more than $30. So you're getting leverage on the salary you're already paying. And for bigger teams, the math gets better fast, right? So 10 people each saving 4 hours a week is 40 hours a month of recovered productivity. That's essentially a full time employee's work output for $300 a month. That's the economic argument. And it's why enterprises are paying for this. Now, here's the thing I need you to understand about why this Microsoft Anthropic partnership is so significant. This is something that a lot of the tech coverage is really missing. So, Copilot Cowork operates in the cloud inside Microsoft's 365 infrastructure and draws on something called Claude Cowork that simply cannot access, right? The full graph of a user's enterprise work data. That means Outlook email threads, team conversations, calendar history, SharePoint files, Excel workbooks, and the relationships between them. When Claude Cowork runs on your desktop, you can see your local files, your downloads folder, your desktop, whatever you point at it. When Copilot Cowork runs in Microsoft 365, it can see everything, right? So every email you sent and received, every Teams message, every calendar event, every shared document, every relationship between all those things. And that's a different level of context. That's the difference between a new assistant who just started and read your files versus an assistant who's been sitting in every meeting, reading every email, and watching every decision your company has made for the last 3 years. That depth of context is what makes enterprise AI actually useful for complex work, not just finding information, understanding the full picture. And that's why I keep saying to anyone who will listen, the people who learn how to work with these tools right now, who understand how to delegate AI effectively, who can build workflows around these agentic systems, those people are going to be extraordinarily valuable in the next 3 to 5 years because here's the shift that's happening in real time. We're moving away from chatbots that simply talk and towards agents that do, right? So chatbots just talk and agents are autonomous. They can do stuff. The first wave of AI was information. You asked it, it answered. The second wave, the one we're in right now with Copilot, Cowork, and Claude Cowork, and Openclaw, and Google Gemini agents, and all the rest, is implementation. You delegate, it acts. That changes everything about how work gets organized. It changes what skills matter. It changes what you actually need people for. And before I go further, I want to take a moment to tell you about something that I think is genuinely important if you want to stay ahead of this stuff. If you're watching this and thinking, okay, I understand the big picture, but I don't know how to actually use these tools in my own business. I don't know how to delegate effectively to AI. I don't know how to set up workflows to save me time instead of creating more work. That's exactly why I built the AI Profit Boardroom. It's a community where I share the real stuff, not just the headlines, the actual workflows, the tools that work, the ways that real businesses like myself are create using AI right now to save hours every single week and build competitive advantages before the competitors even figure out what's happening. Feel free to join us, link in the comments description, or go to the AIprofitboredom.com. Now, let's keep going because the Copilot Co-work story is the biggest piece of news this week, but it's not the only piece. And when you put it all together, a very clear picture starts to emerge. So Google just dropped their March Pixel update this week, and buried inside it is something that tells you the exact same story. Gemini automation is expanding on the Pixel 10 series. It can now book rides, order food, or purchase groceries by launching apps in a secure window and tapping, scrolling, and typing on your behalf. You can watch the process live or let it run in the background with notifications. Final confirmation is always required before completing a transaction. Your phone is now doing the same thing with Copilot Cowork, and it's doing that inside of Microsoft 365. It's not just answering your questions, it's taking actions on your behalf. It's going into other apps, navigating them, completing tasks, and reporting back. 1 year ago, that was like a demo on a stage, somewhere that nobody believed we could actually ship. Now it just shipped to millions of people as a free software upgrade on their existing phones. Samsung launched Galaxy S26 with agentic AI that anticipates what you need before you ask. The phone includes Now Nudge for automatic suggestions, Photo Assist for editing photos by describing changes, and multiple AI agents, including Gemini and Perplexity, working on your behalf. Samsung and Google are putting multiple AI agents on the same phone, working together on your behalf. That's not 3 apps anymore, that's 3 employees that never sleep, never ask for a raise, never call in sick, and then there's the browser story on top of all this. So Microsoft Edge now has a full powered Copilot mode, and it's fully AI powered, and it lets you compare tabs, summarize pages, draft content, all inside the same browser. Now, from May 2026, Edge will automatically be on open on the Copilot side pane when users click links from Outlook emails, surface contextual insights, and gives you actionable suggestions based on email destination content. So when you look at all of this, right, and we paint the picture of what a normal workday starts to look like with all of this running together, it's pretty crazy. So, for example, you wake up, your phone has already looked at your calendar, checked your email, and prepared a briefing on what matters today. You get to your desk, you open Outlook, you click a link in an email. Before the page loads, Copilot's already summarized it and told you what to do. You tell Cowork to prep for your 11 a.m. meeting. It goes into your email history, your team's chats, your files, and builds you a briefing doc. You approve a few calendar changes. Cowork suggests, and then you tell your phone to book a restaurant for the client dinner tonight. Gemini opens the app, finds options, books a reservation, and confirms it all before noon without you manually doing any of it. That's the direction. That's what's being built right now across Microsoft, Google, Apple, Samsung, and every other major platform simultaneously. Now, let me give you the economic context that makes all of this make sense. The AI agent market, right, reached $7.6 billion in 2025 and is expected and projected to grow at 49.6% annually through 2033. IDC predicts 1.3 billion agents in circulation by 2028. 80% of the Fortune 500 already using Microsoft agents. 1.3 billion AI agents by 2028. That's only 2 years from now. And that's not a niche technology trend, that's infrastructure. That's the plumbing of how work gets done. Morgan Stanley predicts that transformative AI will become a powerful deflationary force as AI tools replicate human work at a fraction of the cost. The bank says executives are already executing large scale workforce reductions because of AI efficiencies. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has envisioned entirely new companies built by just 1 to 5 people that can outcompete large incumbents. 1 to 5 people outcompeting large incumbents, right? That's not a future prediction. That's already happening right now. Now, Cursor, you've got, running with $300 million a year. You got Midjourney with 40 people and making $200 million a year, right? A lot of these companies are growing because they're AI first and they can just do with one person what it normally took 10 or 50 or 100 people. And this is what the Copilot Cowork story is really about at its core. It's not about Microsoft catching up to Anthropic. It's not about which company has the best model. It's about the fact that these tools now exist to let small teams do the work of large ones and large teams do the work they never had time for before. The question isn't whether it's happening, it's already happening. The question is whether you're going to be on the side of people learning how to use it or the people hoping it goes away. Because if I'm really direct with you about what I think you should do based on everything I've shared today, let me talk you through it. Okay, so if you're in a job that involves a lot of information management, emails, reports, documents, start learning how to delegate to AI right now. Not eventually this week. Pick one thing you do repeatedly. That could be research, meeting prep, email drafting, calendar management, whatever it is, and find out if Copilot, Cowork, or a similar tool can do it. Spend a week figuring out how to make it work for your specific situation, automate it, and then move on to the next thing. If you run a team or manage a business, a strategic question you need to be asking yourself right now is not how do I use AI? The question is how do I redesign my workflows so that AI does the commodity work and my people do the high judgment work? That's the organizational challenge over the next 3 years. And the companies that figure it out first will pull so far ahead that the ones who figure it out last may never catch up. And if you're a creator, a freelancer, a marketer, or someone who builds content or runs campaigns or manages clients, the tools being built right now are designed specifically for you. Right, the research, the drafts, the analysis, the scheduling, the admin, all of it can increasingly be delegated to AI. Your competitive advantage is not going to be how fast you can write an email or how quickly you can pull data from a sheet. It's going to be your judgment, your relationships, your taste, and your ability to direct AI to produce the right outputs. OpenAI has surpassed $25 billion in annualized revenue and is reportedly taking early steps towards a public listing. Rival Anthropic is approaching $19 billion in annualized revenue. The figures signal that the market for advanced AI models has rapidly become one of the fastest growing sectors in the technology industry. 25 billion, 19 billion for AI companies that barely existed a few years ago. The market has spoken, the customers have spoken, and the growth is not slowing down. The people who are building skills and workflows and competitive advantages in this space right now, they're going to have an enormous head start over everyone else who waits. I talk about this exactly inside the AI Profit Boardroom every day. Real workflows, real tools, real examples. If you want to join us, link in the comments description, or come to the AIprofitboarding.com and just see what it's about, see what people are building and connect with us. Because here's what I keep coming back to as I watch all of this unfold. The Microsoft and Anthropic partnership is not just a business deal, it's a signal. It's the biggest company for software in the world looking at what Anthropic built and saying, we need that. We can't build our own way this fast, right? And we need to partner with someone who figured it out already. That's how fast this is moving. Even Microsoft, with all its resources, its engineers, its billions of dollars in AI and invested into OpenAI, even Microsoft have to go outside and find something better for this problem. Now, imagine you're a small business owner or a freelancer or someone trying to build something. You don't have Microsoft's resources, but you have access to the same tools. Microsoft just paid a fortune to integrate. And they're available to you right now. This is the moment we are in. And whether it's Copilot Cowork, or whether it's Claude Cowork, or Gemini agents ordering groceries on your phone, or Claude handling your research and writing, all of the above running together across every platform you use, the direction is the same everywhere you look. AI is not something you go looking for anymore. It's arriving into your browser, your phone, your email, your calendar, your spreadsheets, your documents. It's being embedded by default into every tool that every working person uses every single day. You can push back on that. You can debate whether it's good or bad. That's a legitimate conversation. But the most important thing you can do right now, in my view, is make sure that when all of these tools land in your workflow, they're landing right now, by the way, whether you invite them or not, you have to become the person who knows how to use them well. Not the person who ignores them, not the person who's intimidated by them, but the person who looked at this moment early, took it seriously, put it in the work to understand it, and came out the other side with a genuine competitive advantage. That's what this is all about. That's why I cover it every single day. Stay ahead of it, keep learning. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye bye.